We do have every expectation that it will be temporary. The Prime Minister, the Israeli government have made that point, not just to the United States, but have made that point publicly. And we take them at their word that that is the intention here as we work through a new arrangement that can ensure that Israel is secure.
The Secretary General is deeply concerned by the recent and extensive violations of Syria's sovereignty and territorial integrity. The Secretary General is deeply concerned by the recent and extensive violations of Syria's sovereignty and territorial integrity. The Secretary General is particularly concerned over the hundreds of Israeli airstrikes on several locations in Syria, stressing the urgent need to de-escalate violence on all fronts throughout the country. The Secretary General stresses that the 1974 disengagement of forces agreement remains in force, condemning all actions that would be inconsistent with the agreement, and calls on the parties to the agreement to uphold their obligations under this instrument, including by ending all unauthorized presence in the area of separation and refraining from any action that would undermine the ceasefire and stability in the Golan. In this period of rapid change, the Secretary General underscores that while maintaining public order, it is imperative to support credible, orderly, and inclusive transitional arrangements in Syria.
Our commitment to our partnership with the Syrian Kurds, especially the Syrian Democratic Forces, is deep and resolute, and that commitment exists because we are in a partnership with them to fight ISIS, and they have been very capable counterterrorism partners, not just in suppressing the threat from ISIS, but also in holding ISIS terrorists in large numbers in detention facilities in eastern Syria, and we want to make sure that that ongoing work is not disturbed. Second, our own commitment to the continued work to defeat ISIS has just been renewed in a quite vigorous way over the weekend with a series of strikes on ISIS personnel and facilities in the central Syrian desert. Dozens and dozens of targets that we hit with real intense American capability, B-52s. And what we are saying with that strike is we are going to continue to hit any ISIS threat where we find it, and we're going to work with our partners to do so. I have learned, maybe both the easy way and the hard way, not to speak about red lines in this part of the world publicly. So I do not intend to do so from this podium, but I do want to just make the point that we are engaged both in consultations with our Kurdish partners. In fact, General Kurilla was just recently very deeply in conversation with our Kurdish partners, and we are in conversations with Turkey as well about our expectations and about what we see as the best way forward. I think those conversations are serious, they're intense, they're ongoing. They have already produced some results, including this de-escalation around Manbij that both Turkey and the Kurds have kind of informally signed up to. All of that is tenuous, it is fragile, it is something that is going to require ongoing work and cultivation, and it is something that we will be very vigilant to as a top priority going forward. But beyond that, I cannot comment further today.
What about assurances to the Israeli public about Turkish activity in Syria that won't be hostile to us?
So we look at the situation in Syria as having a range of different risks presented, including the potential for fracture in that state, as well as power vacuums that can give rise to terrorist groups that can threaten beyond borders, as well as the potential for groups to be in charge in Damascus who bear hostile intent to outside forces, including to neighbors like Israel. All of those are possibilities. All of those are risks that President Biden has spoken to publicly and that we are dealing with partners on privately, including dealing with the Turks, who do have some measure of influence here, and where we have set out our views and expectations. But again, given the nature of the situation, given the sensitivity, given the urgency, it's important, I think, for us to be able to carry out those conversations behind closed doors. As we make progress in them, we will share with you the results. Yeah.
Raf Sanchez from NBC News. I know you're not going to negotiate in public here, but there does seem to be more flexibility from both Israel and Hamas right now. What do you attribute that to? Is it the killing of Sinwar? Is it the weakening of Hezbollah? Is it President-elect Trump injecting urgency into this? And just on Syria, the Israeli government is saying its presence in the buffer zone and outside of it, inside Syria itself, is temporary. Do you believe them that it's temporary? Did the Prime Minister give you a sense of what conditions would need to be met before Israel would withdraw?
We didn't go into deep detail on the conditions other than to say that those conditions would require Israel to feel that the kinds of understandings that were in place before the fall of the Assad regime to ensure stability, predictability, and security for Israel are put back into place. And yes, we do have every expectation that it will be temporary. The Prime Minister, the Israeli government have made that point not just to the United States, but have made that point publicly. And we take them at their word that that is the intention here as we work through a new arrangement that can ensure that Israel is secure in light of the risks that have been laid out in previous questions.
أوه يا صباح الحرية. هاي سوريا أخيرا الحمد لله والفضل الله والعزة لله. شفنا الضيم الله بيشهد. شبابنا كله راح. شبابنا كله راح.
إن شاء الله هي جمعة الفرحة ما بعدها فرحة، جمعة نصر لأخواننا المسلمين، وهي الجمعة جمعة مباركة.